Hi, everyone. Welcome to AGO from Home, Hot Takes. My name is Annie Roper. I'm the curatorial assistant for talk programs and partnerships here at the AGO, and we are so happy to welcome you here today to the virtual world to get hot takes. And though today we are meeting in the virtual world, do want to acknowledge that the AGO operates on traditional territories of the Indigenous nations who have lived on these lands since time immemorial. The land that we call Ontario is covered by 46 treaties, agreements, and land purchases, as well as unceded territories. The AGO is located in Toronto on lands that are the traditional homes of the Anishinaabe, the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Huron-Wendat, and the Haudenosaunee. Ontario continues to be home to many Indigenous people who live alongside settlers, newcomers, and people whose ancestors were enslaved across the Americas and the Caribbean. We are grateful to live and work on this land. Recognizing this in a meaningful way means making commitments to sharing and upholding responsibilities to all who now live on these lands and the land itself. In our work, let us be mindful of these commitments. So today, it's Thursday, it's November 26th, it's 4 o'clock. If you're in Toronto, you're in lockdown, but we're here. And Hot Takes is a series where we use close-looking skills and visual vernacular to analyze popular images in the media. We invite creatives, artists, geniuses, thinkers to discuss and decipher an image or series of images to understand our current cultural and social moment. So today we are going to be doing a bit of a deep dive into Tone Study. Tone Study is a stunning publication. It is a Black art and cultural commentary magazine. Within its pages, Black artists, musicians, iconoclasts, and scholars critique and contribute to the worlds of art, culture, and fashion. Joining us today, we have Nana Adu-Poku, who is a writer, photographer, tech professional based out of Toronto, Ontario. In his spare time, he plays the trumpet, cooks, and takes care of his houseplants. It's like all primo quarantine activities. Michael Nyarkoh is a Toronto-based creative producer working in publishing, fashion, and culture. He's obsessed with reading magazines, drinking cortados, and people watching. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to these two. Thank you so much for being here. And if you or anyone missed part of the conversation today, you'll be able to catch it on the AGO's YouTube channel, along with previous hot takes and all of our other tremendous programming that we've been doing during this virtual time and space. So thanks, guys. Over to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, y'all, what's up?
How you doing, Michael?
I'm chilling. I'm chilling. I want another cortado, but we'll do that after. So yeah, let's get into it. Yeah, we're talking about tone study, talking about Black people. It should be fun. Yeah. So I guess we'll start with a slide. So we titled it "In Search of Black Imagery / Chasing the Black Gaze." I'll just wait till the screen is shared. Dope. Yes. I guess we'll go to the next slide. So I guess I could start. This is Tone Study, this publication that Nana, as well as a dear friend of ours, Chuma, have been working on for like the last 4 years, like in and out. And we've created this print publication about Black folks. This 82-page thing that features folks from Toronto, London, New York, Johannesburg, all bringing their ideas, narratives, and different conversations to really, I guess, uplift. And I guess we're going to start with how that sort of came to be, the things that we were looking at, thinking about, and hoping to achieve with this publication. So, Stanley, you got it.
So I think we could just jump over to the next slide.
I think we need some
Audio.
audio. Toni Morrison looks like she's ready for action, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's truly incredible.
It's inspiring.
Yeah, you know, watching that, I mean, before we get into it, but it was really, it showed this like brilliant, patient woman that just was like, yeah, this is really what it is. You know,
Yeah.
like we're not playing around here. Um,
Very firm in her convictions.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
You have in your writing certainly marginalized whites. Why are they of no particular interest to you, or seemingly no particular interest?
Well, I was interested in another kind of literature that was not just confrontational, Black versus white. I was really interested in Black readership. And I wanted to do, I think, for me, the allegory or the parallel is Black music, which is as splendid and complicated and wonderful as it is, because its audience was within its primary audience. The fact that it has become universal, worldwide, anyone, everyone can play it, and it has evolved, is because it wasn't tampered with and editorialized within the community. So I wanted the literature that I wrote to be that way. I could just go straight to where the soil was, where the fertility was in this landscape. And also, I wanted to feel free not to have the white gaze in this place that was so precious to me, which is the work.
So this is such a powerful message. You know, I think we were really inspired by this idea of trying to make something that existed outside of the white gaze. You know, it's kind of a pervasive thing. It oftentimes makes us feel like we have to like justify the thing that we're making or the thing that we're doing to try and make it fit within, I guess, like a white mode of thinking or like a white framework. But Toni Morrison has always been like fiercely critical of that concept, and like she's managed to be successful and touch so many people's lives by staying true to these ideas that she speaks about in this clip. So I think when we started to make the magazine, we were thinking a lot about this concept, and it was never really about saying like, yes, we've definitely created something that sits outside of the white gaze, but it's always it's like a moving target. You know, like every time we come up with a new idea or try and work with a different artist or writer on something for the magazine, we're always thinking about this concept and trying to kind of make that be like a really like primary part of what it is that we're trying to put together.
Should we go to the next slide?
Yeah.
So I could quickly go through this. In sort of piggybacking with what Nana said, we were really interested in creating a publication and finding imagery and conversations that were really for and by Black folks. Tone Study came out of a frustration of not finding publications that really spoke to the sort of things that we were interested in. Of course, you have like Essence and Jet Magazine and a lot of those like founding fathers of Black publication, founding fathers and mothers rather for Black publications, but none of that really felt like a product that was speaking to us. And at the same time, there was like this sort of upswing of Black creatives, whether it was like Wales Bonner, Martine Rose, Abe Kamara, as well as like Pierre Moss, that were having this really big moment back in, I guess, 2016, 2015, which in part gave us like this sort of power and joy, but we were also sort of baffled at the amount of images and productions that were created with non-Black people. And we felt like there was a space to create something that was like purely Black, and it was not about appeasing to anyone else except for Black folks. And that's how tone study sort of came to be. And as well as thinking about the Black A's, we were then looking at, you know, the work of Liz Johnson, our tour, and just like Black mundanity, and just like the regularness and normal lives of Black people across the world. So in the next slide, we'll show you some examples of the things that we were sort of geeking on. This first image, this was, it's a Liz Johnson Art Tour piece from 1999. One of our partners, Chuma, actually put us on, and I think this was like his Facebook photo. And going through Liz's work, I think for me at least, it felt so normal. You know, it felt like going to the weddings I grew up going to, the funerals, and the events where it was primarily, I mean, it was literally all Ghanaian people, all Black people, just being their baddest selves, like the most beautiful, most stylized selves. But they were just like regular people, and there was so much joy and wonder to the celebration of Blackness and like the everyday, which is what Liz really spoke to and keeps speaking to, and what really sort of helped lay a foundation for the things that we wanted to create.
Yeah, because I think that there's really two levels when it comes to conversations about representation. Like if we want to only talk about representation, I mean, there's more to it than that. But when it comes to representation, you know, there's the everyday, but then there's also the extraordinary. And I think that we get a lot of the extraordinary when it comes to Black folks. Like we've got like foundational mythology. We've got like this person is the first Black person to do this, or the first Black person to do that, or whatever. But you know, it's nice to kind of like flip the script a little bit and come back down to the everyday and the mundane, and just like what's happening around the corner or with your cousin or like down the street.
Yeah, exactly. If we could go to the next slide and keep that going. Yeah, like to what you're just saying, Nana, like there is so much beauty in Black folks, you know, and I think people in general, but like obviously being Black people, you know, we go to our churches, go to the mall, go to our school, you know, go to the neighborhood, and it's just like folks existing and being oftentimes super free, you know, whether it's that moment and just feeling the vibrancy of life. This photo by Ruth Ginka Osi, she's a London/Lego space photographer. And this was right before, you know, Kenzo and Rihanna sort of tapped her shoulder, and she was making images and producing photos of just people and Legos. And they were like, it's really amazing, the sort of, this aesthetic feels so Nollywood, this sort of thing that I guess you see, I mean, I grew up seeing a lot of like in Nigerian films or like Ghanaian films or whatever productions of folks just like living their best, pop collar, this sort of almost delayed visual aesthetic, you know, that was cool in maybe like 03, 04, 05, that they're still holding on to, you know, in like 2015, 2016. And it just oozes this cool, you know, this cool that's like super authentic and super specific to folks in those worlds. And Ruth was really showing us a variety of really brilliant people, also cool, also dripped in, you know, whatever cool that they were presenting. And that was, again, this sort of energy of just like regularness and like beauty in the regularness that we're really trying to put on. And what that now looks like is in the next slide. If we could get to that, please. Yeah, so we, sorry, the one above, sorry. Yeah, sorry. So this is a spread from Tone Study. So we, through a lot of Instagram searching, we found this photographer, Adu-Poku, who's this brilliant photographer from South Africa, based in Johannesburg.
Yeah.
And we tapped him to do a photo essay on just like people. And so he gave us dozens of images of just different Black people in Joburg, just living their lives. And this piece, I think, really speaks to the mundanity that we fell in love with and we wanted to showcase.
Yeah. Feels like how we see ourselves rather than how we're seen or how we're portrayed. And like that's just the energy we wanted to tap into with this.
Totally. I guess we could go to the next slide.
That guy went off though. The guy on the right, yeah.
Yeah, the guy on the right. And I don't know who's watching that has a publication. First off, I am sorry if you weren't able to get your hands on it. I'm sorry about that. But
It's sold out.
You know, there's some folks in that, like homie with like the full leather outfit. He's just on one. And those photos look like it's a hot sunny day, and he was just dripped in this like full leather kit with a jacket, tightest leather pants I've seen.
Matching beret.
Matching beret. He was a real one. So for this slide, as well as like the regularness, we were really interested in artists and creators and people that were able to exist in sort of mainstream and have this sort of like mass appeal. But you could tell that they were just truly themselves. They were being everything that they are, and the world just sort of took to that, you know. So in our initial DNAs, we had FKA Twigs, we were thinking about Carl Walker, we were thinking about Dean Blunt, Mos Def, Frank Ocean, Wells Bonner, folks that from the beginning of their careers until, I mean, and beyond, they were making work that felt truly themselves, but were able to really be part of this bigger stage and be able to create on like bigger scales to wider audiences. And that was something that was really attractive to us.
Yeah. Like tapping into that same energy that Toni Morrison was talking about in that clip. She was also inspired by musicians and other artists who were able to maintain a cohesiveness of vision and really just like incubate within that, I guess that Black gaze, you know, like sitting outside of view of the expectations of people who aren't necessarily part of the community, to make something that's really authentic and beautiful and can be shared and loved by anybody.
Should we go to the next slide?
Yep.
Sing so much better. I dance so much better. Yeah. I be a little freer, a little less me. Sing so much better. I dance so much better. Yeah. I be a little freer, a little less me. a little less mean now, a little less better. One day I thought I could fly. One day I woke up and I could fly. I looked down at the sea, and I wouldn't know myself. I'd have no hands, I'd have no feet. I'd have new vision. My eyes would be open a little better. The Bible says, the Bible says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
You got it there.
Be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Yeah, so I love this song, like specifically this recording. Like you're probably sick of this by now, Michael and Chuma. If you're watching, you're probably like, oh God. But I just feel like it really speaks to the energy of Nina, what she was continually trying to do with her music and like with her art and her activism, and how she always maintained this connection to the church, while also like exploring concepts of like freedom and like protest and performance and just like being like fully present within herself. And I just feel like these are all things that I come back to a lot when it comes to my art and what we're putting together with Tone Study too.
I think we could go to the next slide, but I think before that, one of the big pillars that we were thinking about when we really started this was what does it look like to be free? What does being a free Black person look like? And below we have a couple examples of what that looks like to us and sort of the energy that brought forth in the making of this, and ultimately how that's related to our lives as Black people. Oh.
All day, all night. There's no Reggie, that shit I don't like. Now we got a fucking hour, that bitch alright. Skirt, pillow, skirt, your bitch, bet she going right. Right, so some bitch, yeah, I ain't going ice up. Pistol tone, and I'm showing O's.
Then we could go to the next one after that and then talk about them.
Do a compare and contrast. Take it back to grade 4. 5. Tim's, yo.
Part of me wish I about the do I got today, but I guess where do we start? I think we could do a thing like, so when that Chief Keef album came out, that was literally all over my Facebook, the internet, Instagram, and 2012 was like a really interesting time, I think, especially for drill music. But that video, I mean, besides from how iconic it is and how influential it is, I think, this really beautiful example of people in their like truest space you know, sharing and performing music in this lifestyle that is theirs, you know? Obviously, I mean, a lot of like trap music or whatever music is filled with ideas of what luxury is or whether they live it or not, but it's oftentimes feels so calculated or conceptual. But I don't like feels so raw and unpolished and that energy, you know, like to extract that energy and really think about what that looks like in images or what that can look like in, you know, your day to day. And obviously in making this publication, we really wanted to have something that felt so pure, you know, um, and then, you know, to take it to Blood Orange, who was very much a pillar of what it meant to be weird and black and truly yourself, and the sort of fluid nature that he had, and that sort of thing that we saw that we wanted to bring forth, you know, these different ideas of masculinity, um, and and thinking about how these sort of images, or sorry, these videos sort of work side by side as examples of Black men just being all of that they are, um, together, you know, regardless of where you stand, who you sit beside, who you sleep with. That that to us was like, you know, the milk and honey of it all, and what we really try to work towards and bringing forth, um, in the publication and in our lives. Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely different manifestations of the same kind of energy, you
Mhm.
know, it all kind of converges into this one sort of level. I'm always interested in this idea of you know, like this idea that like different animals evolve on like different continents to serve like almost at like the same purpose in like different areas. You know, like I was reading this thing about how arthropods um, tend to want to converge on like the form of a crab.
Okay,
So there's a
cool.
bunch of like crabs that aren't crabs that
Uh-huh.
are out there, and I really feel like stick with me here.
Mhm.
I
I'm here
really feel
for you.
like there's this idea that you know uh, Black artists are Black, obviously, and they're working in different spaces and they're channeling their Blackness through those spaces, but where that's all coming from meets up at this like idea that exists in the ether. You know, maybe it's because of I don't know, like shared experiences of like discrimination or like some sort of like cultural idea of
Mhm.
Blackness that's out there, but like being authentic really taps into this idea. So yeah.
I was with you. I was with you, and hearing it and feeling it. Um, um, I guess we can go to what's next.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, let's go to the next slide. So here's where we are talking about future, where we're talking about issue 2. Hopefully something that's not going to take 4 years, but we're really trying to push um, how we think about Blackness in images and narrative, and um, I think obviously continue this like very Black gaze, and before anything, it is about creating and showcasing popping up Black folks for the engagement of Black folks. Um, but we're hoping to approach this in something that's rooted in, I think, more um, progressive or radical ideas of Blackness, and trying to find the sort of nooks and crannies of Black creative productions and like Black experience and Black livelihood, and um, pull that together for this next issue.
Yeah. because I very much see what we're doing as, there's a conceptual piece where we're trying to figure out what it means to pursue a lot of the things that Toni Morrison's talking about. But we're also trying to create like almost like a piece of art. Like I wouldn't say that it's collage, but it's like a very similar kind of idea of like bringing in like disparate kind of like concepts and like forms together to create a cohesive whole.
I oftentimes think about it as we're building a home, and I think first issue was like this cute little bungalow, where we got like whatever contributors to like craft a little room. And with that, I think it's like building on top and trying to build a second floor that is a little taller and definitely blacker. And it's really trying to look far and wide for new interior designers and architectures and decorators and plumbers and carpenters to help build this home up to be like the best, blackest thing that we could think of. So I guess we could go to the next slide with that. Or the other way around. So I can start with this. This is a Steve McQueen short that he did back in 2001 called Illuminator. And this was when Steve was like an artist before he was like a feature filmmaker, I believe. I think Hunger came out 2005. So anyways, this video is him in his Paris hotel, naked on a bed, and he's watching the news, and the news is images of warfare and violence. And it sort of creates this this image, this sort of like lo-fi image that sort of acts as like a portrait of sorts, and how he is sort of existing and being literally illuminated by violence. To be honest, like this image initially came to us as just a visual reference, a reference that felt like it wasn't attempting to be the sort of picture polished piece of art, but instead something that felt like it was just made with your hands. There's this sort of unfiltered grassroots, if you will, approach to art making that Steve McQueen was really interested in doing. He does say this interesting thing, which is kind of off topic, but to just bring it back to the video, where he talks about the experience of Black folks, and as much as we came here with love, we also came here with violence, and that violence could be seen in slavery in some places, colonization in some places, and there is this really interesting thing of being birthed from sort of bad, and he's then giving us this sort of this image of sorts. Sorry, random tidbit, but yes, this.
It was good.
I was like, what's this motherfucker going on about? But Steve McQueen has definitely been someone that we've been looking at for a long time, as an individual that's interested in making challenging cinema and challenging moving images and images. We sort of think of him as this idea of like an interesting like Black punk artist, and that sort of let's really push the ideas of what cinema, let's push the ideas of what moving images look like, and rethink those things, which is the energy that we have been really trying to like push into how we look at making issue 2 and how we look at creating content or work for this next issue.
Yeah, and as a visual tie back, there was another piece that we were really inspired by, Blue Black Boy by Carrie Mae Weems.
Mhm.
And, you know, it just really spoke to this idea of like the blue cast on the black skin, and just being I don't know, like a very similar visual language.
Sorry if there's that honk. Lantern be going crazy sometimes. Which, I mean, you could also then bring back to, you know, that infamous moonlight scene that everyone sort of references. Young boy in the water. I guess it's, you know, evening time, that blue cast. And it's interesting to think about how that is seen in a lot of like Black imagery, and Black imagery that I think holds on to a lot of people. And I don't know if that's just a case of that blue is a signifier of like sadness and turmoil and hardship, you know, like, but also there is this beautiful thing that the blue does to like a Black body, you know, and Black skin, and just how it sort of, no pun intended, illuminates the figure when blue is hit or casted on.
Yeah, like when you watch a TV show and they know how to like light for Black skin, oftentimes in like a really compelling scene, they will light with a blue cast or something, and you see it a lot now in things like Insecure or like I May Destroy You or other media like that.
They finally got it right.
Yeah.
Or they finally allowed us to make it right. Should we go on to the next one?
Let's do it.
So first off, shout out to Tao Lewis. She is a motherfucking star. Brilliant. It's interesting in us figuring out this chat for today. I was going through our old group chats, or all of the group chat photos that we have. And I remember 4 years ago showing you guys Tao's work. And this is when she was doing like resin portraits of people, familiar faces that we know from the neighborhood or from the city. And being really struck by her approach at showcasing Black folks through these resin materials or these found objects and found pieces of work that, you know, create this this overall image. And to see her grow and really blossom into the artist that she is now, and the art that she's making is honestly, it's so exciting. And thinking about Tao's sort of journey, I remember thinking about the work initially and like, yo, we need to get her in. It's sort of reaffirmed the work that we were doing, you know, like, yes, I mean, to see Tao in an art publication, that's one thing, but to see her work hopefully in like another sort of space, another sort of publishing space, really brings joy. And we were really trying to make sure that happened, and hopefully that can at some point in time. But I guess to go back to what we're talking about, this piece right here, I think again, what Tao has been able to do with her work sort of speaks to what Steve McQueen was doing with his earlier work. And it was just, how can we push the idea of this medium with whatever we have, and make it so much so us, and so much so Black and imaginative and progressive in its ideas and execution. Um, this piece in the show is about, I guess, these different ideas of motherhood. And these sort of strings on the side are about communication and sharing of knowledge and information. Because you would then, in the show, you'll see those sort of stringed flowers across the space. And they're sort of communicating together. And yeah, I think there is something really interesting about, one, the sharing, and also the sort of scale of imagining Blackness in all of these sort of forms and all of these sort of wow, these
Like
sort of
manifestations or
yeah, and the sort of outer worldly idea of what Blackness looks like, that to me feels so relevant and familiar.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because the material and the medium is something that seems very like grounded or mundane, but like the actual effect is something that appears more I guess like fantastic or surreal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's been doing a really amazing job with like continuing um, that sort of creation of art. Um, yeah, I really love the spirit of it. I love the work. Check it out. I think it's critical.
Yeah.
Should we get to the next slide?
If you can, I don't know if it's the thing
Yeah,
right now,
yeah.
right?
Nana, did you want to start this one?
Yeah. So one thing that we've been really thinking a lot about is trying to seek out other publications that are operating the same kind of space as us, doing like similar kinds of things or just like interesting stuff. And one of those groups is Black Mass Publishing. They're really heavily involved in zine creation, making longer form publications, and just trying to really push the envelope of what print can do. And yeah, I think one of the most interesting things to me is in the same way that we kind of have this idea of I guess channeling some philosophies from Toni Morrison into the way that we do our work, they do the same thing with jazz. You know, they're always talking about jazz and the influence that it has and specific artists and featuring them in like one-off or small print run books. And it is interesting how you know, people can have really similar ideas, but coming from like entirely like different influences. So it just speaks to that convergence idea again.
Mm. I definitely feel like Black Mass is one to look out for, and it's definitely given us the space to really like think critically of what it means to be working in the space of print and publishing, because it is like, that's a real Black magazine, a real Black collection of publications, and it's really inspiring actually. And it's sort of forced us to think about, or to continue to think about, what sound and what music means in relation to bookmaking. Yeah, because one of the things that they try to do, I guess, in some of their books is really think about how jazz as a sound sort of moves, and trying to look at that sound and recreate it with the way images are portrayed and laid out and showcased in between the pages. Yeah, so it's definitely something that we really admire and are stoked to get into, and also push us to, really make some Black ass shit,
Yeah.
purely, and continue that conversation of Black creative productions in the print publishing space.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like pacing is really important, and rhythm, and I think
Mhm.
that in the book that we just printed, it one of the criticisms that we've had is that we missed out a little bit when it came to pacing. Like the end of the book feels a little bit heavier on text compared to the beginning, and just thinking about different ways to conceptualize what pace can look like when someone is either reading a book or like looking through images, I think is a really interesting question.
Yeah, yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, it's thinking like trying to even relate to, a meal. You don't have the biggest thing last. Usually you end your meal with a little dessert or an espresso or whatever, a drink, to mellow it all out. And
Cortado.
or the cortado. I mean, it's a little, there's a lot of milk.
That's kind of heavy, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of heavy. So definitely I would strip it down to an espresso. I mean, I personally like a Negroni on it. So that's like very cool and chilling. Yeah, I mean, I guess we could go to the next slide and
Yeah. That's all we got for y'all.
that's it.
So this the issue that we put out, it we took a while to make it. We made something that we're proud of and we stand behind. The next one will definitely have more issues. We'll print more copies, I should say, not issues. We'll print more copies, so more people get a chance to pick it up. But yeah, I think we should probably do some thank yous.
Yeah, like specific thank yous. Sure. Yo, first off, thank you to AGO. Thank you for Annie and Kathleen for thinking of us and inviting us into your space, this virtual space, to talk some shop. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Also, obviously, thank you to Chuma. You're the realist. Wish you were here, but we get it. Thank you to, shout out to Soup Soup real quick. You guys have been really amazing. And really thank everyone that is watching, who picked up the publication, who didn't get a chance to pick up the publication, shared it on Instagram, bought a tote bag, hit us up. You guys have really gave us the zeal and the fire to keep this going. And it really means a lot that all of our efforts and the efforts of other people, part of the publication, were seen and adored and appreciated. And that really means a lot to us, like truly, truly, truly. So thank you. Thank you
so much.
Thank you. Yeah. Man, you got anything?
No, I'm good. You covered it, man.
I bet. All right, y'all. Thanks for listening to us. Hit us up on whatever.
Yeah.
If you want
At
to.
Tone Study on Instagram.
Yeah.
Or tonestudy.com.
Yes. Hit the line, subscribe, and like. And if you have any other questions, honestly, feel free to reach out to us. We'd love talking about Black people. So yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to y'all. Peace out.